I thought it was just a visit, nothing more. That's what I kept telling myself as I prepared the guest room that afternoon. The house smelled faintly of lavender from the candle I had lit earlier, and the soft hum of the washing machine filled the silence. I was 42, divorced for nearly 5 years, and had settled into a routine that was safe, predictable, and honestly a little lonely. When my cousin Rachel had called me the week before, telling me that her son, Alex, was driving through town on his way to a new job and might need a place to crash for a couple of nights, I didn't think twice about saying yes. Family was family. I expected little more than small talk over dinner and maybe a polite thank you when he left. But nothing could have prepared me for the way that short visit would end up altering the course of my life forever. I hadn't seen Alex in years. In my memory, he was always the quiet teenager who sat in the corner during family barbecues, earbuds tucked in, a little awkward, a little shy. But when the doorbell rang that Friday evening and I opened the door, I didn't see a teenager anymore. He stood there tall, broad-shouldered, his dark hair tousled from the long drive. His green eyes, sharp, warm, and full of life, met mine, and for a second I forgot to breathe. "Aunt Claire," he said with a smile, his voice deeper than I remembered. "Thanks for letting me stay." For reasons I couldn't explain, my heart gave a little stutter. "Of course, Alex. Come in. It's been ages." He stepped inside, carrying a single duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The moment he entered, the house felt different, brighter, somehow. We spent that first evening catching up over homemade pasta and a bottle of wine I had opened to celebrate his new job. He told me about finishing college, about the struggles of finding direction, and about finally landing a position in marketing at a startup in Boston. His voice carried an excitement that was contagious. I hadn't realized until that moment how long it had been since I'd felt someone's energy fill the quiet spaces of my home. "So," I asked, leaning on my elbow, "what made you decide to stop here instead of heading straight through?" He gave a little shrug. "I guess I just wanted to see you. Mom always talks about how strong you've been after the divorce, how you rebuilt everything. Honestly, I could use a little of that inspiration right now." I laughed, though his words struck a chord deep inside me. Strong isn't always how I describe myself, Alex. Some days, it's just surviving. His eyes softened. "Still, that's more than most people manage." "I respect that." The conversation lingered long into the night, the hours slipping by unnoticed. By the time I showed him to the guest room, it felt less like hosting family and more like reconnecting with someone who had been missing from my life for far too long. The next morning, I woke to the sound of laughter, his laughter, coming from the kitchen. When I walked in, still in my robe, I found him standing at the stove, flipping pancakes with a confidence I never remembered him having. "You cook now?" I teased. He grinned. "Taught myself. Figured I can't live on takeout forever." We sat at the small table, the sun streaming in through the window, and for the first time in years, breakfast didn't feel lonely. He made me laugh until my cheeks ached. I caught myself watching him, not as my cousin's son, but as someone else. Someone who carried himself with quiet charm and surprising depth. It scared me a little. Later that afternoon, we went for a walk through the park near my house. The crisp air smelled of pine, and the leaves crunched beneath our shoes. He told me about his dreams, about wanting to build something meaningful in his career, and even admitted how nervous he was about starting over in a new city. Without thinking, I slipped my arm through his, offering comfort the way I once had when he was a child. But when he looked down at me and smiled, it didn't feel like a child seeking reassurance. It felt like something new, something unspoken. That night, as I stood at the sink washing dishes, he leaned against the counter beside me. "You know," he said softly, "I wasn't sure about this trip, but now, I'm glad I came." I glanced at him, my heart racing for reasons I couldn't name. "Me too, Alex. Me too." He only stayed 3 days, but those 3 days cracked something open in me I thought had long been sealed shut. He reminded me of the parts of myself I had buried, the playful side, the curious side, the woman who still wanted connection, laughter, and yes, love. When it came time for him to leave, he hugged me tightly at the door. His words lingered in my ear long after he drove away. You're stronger than you think, Aunt Claire. And you're more important than you realize. Don't forget that. I watched his car disappear down the road, tears stinging my eyes. I hadn't expected a visit to change me, but it did. In the weeks that followed, I found myself smiling more. I started painting again, a hobby I had abandoned after my divorce. I reached out to friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I even signed up for a local community class, something I never would have dared before. It wasn't just Alex's presence that changed me. It was the way he saw me. The way he reminded me that my story wasn't over, that my heart still had chapters left to write. Months later, when he called from Boston just to check in, his voice filled my quiet kitchen again. And I realized that even though his visit had been brief, the mark he left on my life was permanent. I thought it was just a visit, but it turned out to be the spark that lit everything I thought I had lost. And in that way, Alex truly changed my life forever.